Welcome to another session of Office Hours. I feel a little guilty we haven't done Office Hours as regularly as we were accustomed to last year, but we are restarting this process. A lot of people said they enjoyed them, so we're going to do it some more. Today we get to be joined by our developer marketing associates, members of our marketing team who reach out to developers, especially around our ECM platform. And you all know me, I'm product manager that works with our ECM platform. Oli, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so most of you guys probably know me already. My name is Alfresco. I am product manager for developer platform and APIs, and also doing developer evangelism. But hoping that that won't be my job for too long. So I'm focusing more on product management for now.
We're looking for a new developer evangelist. We've had a number of interviews. We're really excited about the people we've talked to, but we're glad Oli can expand his time to hold two hats and get everything done.
It's a tricky balance, but it works.
So, Kristen, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey guys, I'm Kristen Gestaldo. I am pretty new to Alfresco. I've been on board for, I guess, 3 or so months now. I am going to be the community manager for the new space that we are launching for you guys.
Excellent. And Anthony, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Anthony Jones. I joined Alfresco about a year ago and I work in product marketing. I'm responsible for the Alfresco One product. So, hi.
And Anthony was the key instigator behind the developer tools survey, or at least he did most of the work of collecting the data and getting it in a format we can share. So, thanks for joining us.
Richard, could you post me the link to the YouTube video, because we forgot to put that on the Google Plus page.
Oh, I got it. It's everywhere else. Ouch. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll do that. And Helen, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm Helen Trim, and I look after digital marketing for Alfresco globally. So that includes social media, all the websites, including responsibility for the community space. So working really closely with this team to really understand how we can build a fantastic new space for you guys.
Excellent. And we're glad to have you driving this forward. And Helen is amazing at the amount of energy she's brought to our team. The things we've gotten done are, it's great to see somebody so focused on our, and you handle all of our digital platforms at this point. Is that correct, Helen?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, so people have probably seen a change in the way we handle social media, and of course we're working on our new community stuff, developer outreach, just a variety of things. So that's exciting. So a couple of announcements. Today is the middle of July in 2016. So we pushed out a community edition release in the middle of June. When we evaluated this month, we haven't completed our goals for the July community edition release. We want to get some more REST APIs ready before we push that out. So we're going to push that to August. Hopefully we'll be able to get things done in time for August. We're getting impacted by holidays and things like that. So expect that next community edition release next month. And we are working on another Tech Talk Live. Oli, you said that you're looking at going into the developer framework again?
Yes, sorry, I was just posting the links to the chat, so sorry about that. Yeah, we're planning Tech Talk Live in early August about the application development framework that we announced a few weeks back. We've had an overwhelming response, really happy about all the feedback we're getting. There's tons of conversation going on, so we're planning a follow-up session either the first or second Wednesday of August. We haven't really figured out the details yet, but we'll announce that within the next week or so. But we're planning to do a deep dive on the application development framework, where we're going to show how you do various things and pick up some use case and show real-world examples on how to use it and where we're going. So it's going to build on from what we talked about last time and go really deep. So I'm really excited about that. So look out for that invite, and we'll post on Twitter and IRC and Google Plus and whatnot.
Excellent. Thank you for looking forward to that conversation. So I also find it humorous that I'm in our Maidenhead office today, and I was so excited to sit in the same room with all of my Maidenhead coworkers. But it's Friday, so everybody's at home except for Helen, who switched back to the U.S. for this week. So we must have passed each other in the air. So that's okay, because we can do this on Hangouts just like with everyone else. We're all on equal footing. So we asked everybody to participate in a developer survey about a month ago, a little over a month ago, and got tons of participation. Everybody was really excited. One of the things we held out was we would share with everybody the results of the survey like we've done in the past, and so we're going to do that today. The other thing we talked about was that we are going to, the participants of the survey would get submitted for an Oculus Rift, which is a pretty cool VR headset due out this fall. And I believe we have a winner. I keep getting asked, who won that? Did you really give out an Oculus Rift?
We do have a winner.
So should we announce the winner?
Not until the very end. No, we should announce it at the very end to keep everyone watching to the very last end.
Okay, so with that said, Anthony, we also promised the results. You gave a really detailed look at the results, and unfortunately it was probably too long to fit in an office hour session, but I believe you put together a version that we can get the highlights and
I have indeed.
The makeup of the Alfresco ecosystem.
And having said that we'd hold off announcing the winner until the end, I'm actually going to do that on the second slide. So so we'll go straight into that. So can someone just confirm you can see my slides okay?
Looks good.
Okay, fantastic. So, so yeah, as Richard said, firstly, a huge thank you because we had just fantastic response. We had not far short of 1,000 of you responding. So part of the thank you was the VR headset, and the other part of the thank you is to let you know what you told us, and also how we're going to use that. So, in terms of the winner. Maybe we can have a drum roll. So congratulations to Simon. He is going to have that fantastic fantastic VR headset heading this way as soon as it's available. So very quickly, I'm not going to run through all of the details, but these are the questions that we asked you. We asked you a whole range of things about how long you've been working with Alfresco, how you work with Alfresco and the community, and what you find most valuable about our platform. So a whole range of very detailed responses that you gave us, and let me just give you a quick overview of those results. So the first thing that we saw is just a huge kind of mix of use of our various different products. So that was really great to see that we saw multiple products used by a range of you. On the right hand side, if we kind of filter it down just to customers and partners, you see that overlap kind of grow even more. But if we look at the entire kind of population of people that responded, we still see this 80% of people that are using all of our products, and very significant overlap. So that's really good to see, because one of the benefits that we have is this portfolio, particularly on the BPM and ECM side, that work really well together, and we're starting to see that in terms of the feedback that we get here. The activity usage, is significant, but I think by the nature of the folks this survey went out to, obviously people have been developing with Alfresco on the ECM side for a wide amount of time, so we did see more responses for the ECM part of the business. The other thing we saw, which was absolutely fantastic, was just the real mix of time developing. So we saw some people that are very new to Alfresco and our products. So you see here 24% that have been with us less than a year. But we also equally saw, a very significant number of people that have been working with us for 3, 5, and 6 years plus. So that's really great to get that mix of new and more experienced developers. So if I look at the section that we kind of looked broadly about what you were working with in terms of the tools, we asked you what are the languages that you're using, and we've compared that to Stack Overflow survey results, just to kind of see how it is different between our community and the kind of wider developer community. One of the things that's really good to see is Angular. Obviously you see a lot of Angular usage within the wider community. Angular is starting to be used within the Alfresco community. And also one of the pieces of feedback that we asked what tools are you using today, as well as the tools you expect to use in the future. And we saw more and more people expecting to use Angular more and more in the future. And so with some of the stuff on our developer tools that Ole has already spoken about on previous tech talks, that was a really good thing.
That was really surprising as well. That was it's neat to see more people using Angular than we expected.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I should mention that if anybody watching this video has questions and you're watching it real time on the Hangout on Air, if you go to chat.alfresco.com, you can ask those questions and participate in the conversation in IRC. And Ole and I are watching that, so if you want more clarification or whatever, put it into chat and we'll see it. So go ahead, Anthony.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we also asked about how you contribute to the Alfresco open source project, and also how you're working with other open source projects. One of the things we saw here was just quite a lot of different interpretations of what it is to contribute. So we got a whole bunch of people that were very specific about add-ons and code fixes and stuff that they've contributed, all the way through to people saying, actually, I just contribute in terms of answering questions and helping people within the community. And also lots of people, everyone's busy, and there were lots of people that said, actually, I'd love to contribute, but I just don't have the time to do so. We also saw a number of people that said, I'm unable to contribute because of legal restrictions, etc., within the company that I'm working for. So a range of different level of contribution across the community. So the next section really was starting to get a lot more specific about Alfresco, what you find valuable in the product. So let me start with just a bit of an additional dive on the product usage. So I've already shown that kind of overlap that we see with lots of people using lots of the products. This starts to look at that over time, and what we see is lots of people starting out with the community edition, and then the longer that they're developing with Alfresco, then we start to see the rest of the combination of products start to grow. So that's with all the kind of individual combinations of product. So if we just simplify that to say the community edition and then all of the other stuff, then you see a very clear starting with community, and over time community continues, but we see more use of those other products as well. We also asked, okay, so how do you expect to change how you're working with Alfresco? Lots of people were saying, actually, I don't really expect things to change a huge amount. I expect more growth. I love Alfresco, and I continue to use it as I have been for a long time. So that was our biggest single kind of category of respondents. We did have a whole bunch of people that took the opportunity to say the things that they would love to see Alfresco develop. So that's that kind of product features section. So lots of really good feedback, and it's something that generally, both in this question and some of the freeform questions, we got just loads of really detailed feedback, which is absolutely fantastic to see. I mean, some people literally wrote kind of a page of feedback, so loads and loads of really good feedback for us, which was just fantastic to see. So as well as kind of product features, we did have a few people saying that they're planning to stop using Alfresco. Really good as well, and very important for us to see that feedback. And it was a real mix of things. There were some people that said, actually, I'm not finding Alfresco meets my needs anymore. There were lots of other people that it was just, their focus has changed, etc. So they were starting to work on different things. So I won't go through all of the list, but that kind of gives you a highlight of some of the things that people said they expected to change. And actually, we also saw lots of people making very positive comments about their enthusiasm around activity and starting to use the activity product much more as well. Okay, so we also asked why do you choose to use Alfresco, and we gave a range of different responses to this. I mean, it was a real mix, and we didn't actually make people kind of choose between these. But what we see is that definitely the ease of integration with other software was very significant. Just the fundamental strong capabilities of the product. So the fact that it meets the project requirements very well was very strong. But you can see a real mix of different reasons that that people are wanting to use the product, including down to the importance of kind of open source and being able to view and modify the code. We also asked a few questions about how you access Alfresco content. So obviously we have the share interface and the iCal tools around that, and lots of people use share and then either lightly configure it or use that and customize. So we asked about that. We also asked about integration with other applications and building your own applications directly on top of the repository. So this is you can see a real mix basically in terms of how people are using this. Later on we'll talk about some of the additional questions that this survey has really highlighted for us, and this is one of the areas that we're really keen to explore in more detail of what are the capabilities that you're using and what capabilities are you using in what situations.
Yeah, and we were really surprised that it's the various relationships, how many people use a customized application, and so I thought the mobile application take-up would be higher. It was very interesting.
Definitely.
So one points out that.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Jeff just points out, wow, that a couple slides back when we were talking about people's plans to continue with Alfresco, he points out that the number of people that volunteered that they're stopping using Alfresco was surprising, and yeah, it was really surprising. A lot of the users, the people who gave their email address to participate in the drawing, we've been able to reach out to some of those and inquire in more detail what's been going on. And some people left detailed comments, as Anthony said. Had you heard back from anybody we reached out to?
I haven't directly, no.
Okay. So if you were one of the people who listed that, then definitely give us as much feedback as you like. You can email community@alfresco.com. But what we found as we were reading the comments, and Anthony went through every single one, and he shared a lot of highlights with the team, that a lot of people, as they move through their careers, they change technologies, and projects come and projects go. And so some of it is expected, but definitely we had a few customers there who had serious concerns we needed to reach out to and try and resolve.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the other point on this last question, so question 9, you could say yes to all of those things, that you're using share out of the box, you're using share in a customized and customizing it, or you're integrating with different applications. And so to start to kind of tease out what was most important, we looked at just the responses to where someone said that integration with third-party applications is the most important thing for me, but they didn't put most important for the others. And so when we looked at it this way, we started to see the level of importance to that easy integration, which obviously is one of the key benefits of Alfresco. So we really started to see that come out. But equally, very significant if you add the share out of the box and the share customization together, that's nearly 40% that are saying that those things are the most important kind of capabilities in the way that they're using Alfresco. So that was an interesting kind of additional dig down on that particular question. Okay, so Ole, Richard, feel free to chip in on this. So this was the question where we started to look in more detail of okay, what are the capabilities that you're using when you're customizing share? So you can see the document library was the kind of top use, but we do see I won't highlight every kind of element. I think it's interesting for people just to kind of have a look, but definitely the document library was the top thing. Forms and evaluator controls was the second in the list.
Yeah, when we first looked at this, we said only 30% have a custom share theme. We spent a lot of time making that possible. We were surprised. I thought more people would be putting their own logos and colors in than appear to be doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is one of the areas that we need to dig deeper into. When we see it, it's the most important things, and it really just blows away the competitions in terms of what needs to be what people customize. We need to go deeper on figure out, is that actions, banners, metadata templates, forms, what is exactly we're talking about in terms of document library, because it's a huge piece of functionality. And when I talked about on the last Tech Talk Live that we need to go back and do our homework to figure out what to do with share, this is one of the key areas we need to dig deeper into. But at least it gives us some good pointers on which things are the most important ones.
I think every time we have an internal conversation about how much time to spend califying the document library, this statistic comes up. So it's definitely something we're taking very seriously and trying to figure out how to resource.
It is definitely really. I mean, it's so good to have this the kind of some hard facts on some of this stuff, and is really giving us some great guides in terms of where we want to ask additional questions.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did the same thing. So if we're looking directly at hooking into the repository rather than the share, again, looking at the capabilities that we provide, what are people using most? Content model is, an area where we have some, fantastic power in the product. Obviously, with the latest version of Alfresco, we made that whole process of working with content models through the user interface a lot simpler. So, we would hope to see that percentage increases even further in future, but certainly that's great to see the level of use of the content models, and again you can just see the other capabilities that are used. Workflow, again, that's a real strength, so it's really good to see that that people are using that capability. Okay, so I won't spend a lot of time on this. We also asked how you're customizing and delivering. One of the things that we saw is the people that are newer to Alfresco are using the more modern kind of methods. So that's good to see that those are starting to get utilized. We did ask some specific questions about how people are using Alfresco activity. To be honest, given that the vast majority of the people that this went out to are people that have been developing with Alfresco for some time, and activity is relatively new, the number of respondents were relatively small, but it does start to give us some indications as to how people are using activity, which is really good to see.
And now we can track trends over time. That'll be really good.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, and then the final section was really about how you're working and collaborating with Alfresco and how you're using the various resources that we have. So if I quickly go straight into that, the first is the kind of list of the various resources, and I mean the first thing I think is just the number of different places that you can go to work with Alfresco, which is both good and bad, and it's one of the things that we're looking to really improve and simplify. So we'll come on to that, but definitely we see docs as one of the key go-to kind of locations, but good use of the forums and the wiki and Stack Overflow, etc. And then in terms of why people are using the resources, the clear winner was I go there because I'm looking for a specific technical question to be answered. So that was the number one, but equally people are going just to kind of learn more about how to use Alfresco and discover new ways to extend it and find out also what's new with the product and capability. So that just calls out some of the kind of highlights.
And definitely keep in mind, everybody watching this, keep in mind those usage reasons that's what fed into the project Kristen's been working on to help us move to a more modern tool set to make a lot of to meet those goals more effectively.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, and then the final question we asked, how can we help you be more successful? And just had loads and loads of really great, useful feedback that is being used and fed into some of the product development processes already, is definitely feeding into this project that Kristen is working on. So a whole range of really detailed feedback. Documentation and kind of tutorials and onboarding was one of the kind of key areas, that lots of requests for better tutorials and ways to make sure that it was really easy to get up to speed with using Alfresco and how to get things done quickly. So that has been really useful and very, lots of very specific actionable feedback for us to follow up on, and likewise a whole bunch of things when it comes to kind of product features that you would love to see us do. So that's really valuable feedback as we're as the engineering teams are looking at our roadmap, etc. So just a huge thanks for everyone that took the time to provide all of that detailed feedback. It has been listened to. It really is kind of live in action within Alfresco, and it's just been so helpful to us. So thank you very much.
And thank you, Anthony, for reading through those hundreds of comments to turn them into something useful for us to go through.
Not at all. So the final thing, and I guess this is always the case, that whenever you get fantastic feedback, it just opens up so many additional questions that you want to ask. That was really interesting. If only we'd asked this instead, or in addition. So we have a whole bunch more, and we really hope that this last survey was just a start, and that we're going to continue a really good dialogue with you, because it's just so valuable to get this feedback from you all.
So yeah, we have a ton of more questions to ask you, and we are planning a second follow-up survey to really get to know more things about the use cases on customizations and integrations. So what we did with the first initial one was to really have a good look at the overall broader things. Like, again, we could see that document library is really important, so we want to dig into what are the specifics of these kind of things. And we could reach out to you individually, but again, we had close to 1,000 people respond to this survey, and reaching out to 1,000 people manually and having conversations with you guys, while I'd love to do that, that's just way too much. So we're going to do a follow-up survey, and I'm virtually looking at Helen, hoping she would confirm that we are going to announce that we have a second chance for you guys to win an Oculus Rift. So we will be providing you a second chance to win if you participate in that survey. We don't know exactly yet when it's going out, but Anthony and I are working on the questions, and hopefully it will go out within the next couple of weeks. But stay tuned. We'll be sure to send you an email and encourage you to respond.
So Suje, when you said how many Oculuses are you giving away, that's why I couldn't answer very directly, because we have another one. So whose idea was it to do the Oculuses? Oh yeah, two more, or just one more?
Just
and that
one
makes
more.
Two. One more.
Two total. So one for the winner of this survey, and then we're going to send out a second survey, and you're gonna have a chance again. So two Oculus Rift. And Helen, please feel free to bash me now if you didn't get that second one approved.
No, we're all approved, so there'll be two.
So whose idea was to get the Oculuses? I don't know how to say that.
I think Anthony and I we just kicked some ideas around, and well, I'd like one.
Exactly. I think we were looking at the gadgets that we would like, so that was high up on the list.
Douglas is a little disappointed that we're not doing one each. Now, the nice thing is we got 5 on the Hangout, so I guess we could do one each for us. But no, I don't get an Oculus, no matter how many times I fill out the survey. So, so thanks.
We probably should have a company one just to test out, just to make sure it's worthwhile to send out to folks.
We've got to verify the goods.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. The one of the members of our support team brought his in a little while ago, and it is pretty impressive. I didn't get a chance to play with it. I wonder if it'll make me sick or not. So, But definitely, as we went through these results, we had a lot of conversations where we just thought, oh, we wish we worded this question this way, or we had this follow-up question. So even if you didn't, if you're not interested in the Oculus, and I think if you win, you can still get Amazon credit towards whatever you want. But even if that's not your thing, even if you're motivated simply by helping Alfresco make better decisions about how we interact with our developers and our open source community, that alone is reason to fill out the next developer survey. So we hope that you take the time to do that. We'll try and keep it as short as possible. So, so the last section of those questions was around how you can collaborate with the open source community, or with other developers or other people in the Alfresco ecosystem. And as you saw, there were lots of people still. There's lots of people using documentation, which is great. There's also lots of people using the forums, which is impressive considering how much we struggled with spam in the forums and other sort of warts in that platform. And there's lots of people still using the wiki to collaborate, which is kind of surprising. I approve all the wiki edits, and we get 3 or 4 a year that aren't me, that I haven't directed somebody to make a change. So it's probably 10 a year. But anyway, so we want to encourage more of that collaboration. We're glad it's a good reference for so many people, but how can we make it easier for you to get in? So Kristen joined and said, there are a lot of modern tools to do this, and Helen had already vetted a number of these, and so Kristen's been working on helping us move from our forums and our wiki into a more modern tool set. And we see that hopefully one day the add-ons could move there and some of these other sites, so we don't have quite so many different properties and we have a single place that people can go to. Kristen, is that a decent introduction? Yep. Or what else would you like to say about the project?
So like Richard said, we have a ton of resources and a ton of places that you guys are all using and referencing, and we would love to give you a place that consolidates all of them and makes it easy for you to find everything you need all in one spot. That is a huge undertaking, so for the first phase of this community that we're going to be launching, we're going to tackle 3 of those problems in one, which is going to be our forums and our blogs and our wiki. Now, if you attended BCon, this is going to be more of an update than an announcement, but for many of you, if you haven't heard about this, we are launching a project to update the Alfresco community. I realize community is a tricky word, so I'm going to go back to that in just a few minutes. I know that using community can be a bit confusing, but when I say it, I mean the space that we give you guys to interact with each other. We purchased some new software, some new technology. It's called Jive, and that's going to be where we can host all of these new features. For one, it takes care of that spam issue right out of the bat. You won't be hit with daily spam notifications in the forums. It's just how the platform works. That's kind of already done. But that's not why we bought the platform. The platform is pretty snazzy. It's one of the kind of the Rolls Royce of community platforms. One thing it does well is consolidate resources. So right now, if you have a question, you're probably going to Google, and then when you search, you maybe see something from the forum or from the wiki, or maybe a page in our docs or Stack Overflow. There's lots of places you can end up. What we're going to do with this platform is when you go to the platform and search, you're going to see results from the content in the forums, the content in the blogs, and the content in the wiki, and as well as in our documents. Now, if you don't see what you're looking for in those pages, we're going to provide some links that will pull you over to Stack Overflow or GitHub, and it will have your search results in that space populated as well. So it will save you a few clicks to finding what you need. If you do find what you need within the Jive platform, you're going to have the ability to do things like follow that topic or subscribe to a certain category so that you stay in the know in the areas that are of interest to you. And that's from our survey results. We found that you're coming in because you have a technical need, or you need it to be easier to get started with Alfresco, or you want to be kept up to date with our happenings. So all of that's going to happen in the space. We're designing a space that's going to organize things in a way that, say, if you're getting started, here's what you need. If you have a technical issue and you want to ask a specific question, here's where you can do that, as well as put all of these things that we have living in the wiki and the forums in one space. So there'll be an ECM page that brings in a lot of the features that you need. As a company, we're all kind of on board. I can't tell you, I don't think there's any department of Alfresco that I haven't met with to see what they want to do in this space, because everybody wants to do something in the space. So you'll be kept up to date with announcements from our products teams, from support. You'll see some new resources created by our teams and by our developer evangelists that we're highlighting that will focus on getting up to speed with Alfresco quicker. So just some things that make your life a bit easier. And and some of that is finding the stuff that we already have, and some of that is creating some new things. Now, for those of you who are actually already in the space, what that means for you, and I know this is probably the big question that everybody has, because Richard and I spent quite a bit of time debating this question, is what happens to all the stuff that I have? You know, even if it's things that you posted in 2010 and you don't necessarily reference it all anymore, there might be somebody who's still looking at it, and we're all kind of going, well, we don't want to lose all this good stuff that we have, so we're going to take everything. We're pulling it all into Jive. So if you find yourself referencing a random post from 2012, don't worry, it's still going to be there. Now, it may appear... Go ahead, Richard.
I was just going to... You know, those are some of the trade-offs we struggle with, and we are interested in feedback. We've already started... We've done a lot of the development to figure out how the import would work, and so we don't think there's a technical hurdle, but we also question... One of the pieces of feedback we got on the developer survey was, you have a lot of out-of-date stuff in the wiki. You have a lot of out-of-date stuff in the forums. It's confusing. And as we bring this stuff into the... This is an opportunity for us to clean the garage and throw out a bunch of stuff. And we've really struggled with, it hurts to throw out stuff. Should we be throwing out stuff? Or should we bring it into Jive, into the new platform, and mark it as archive, or somehow maybe prune it at some point in the future? So if you have opinions on that, please let us know, because we really struggle with where to draw that. Same with the wiki. We want to bring everything from the wiki in and take all the stuff that's currently marked as archived in the wiki, which is most of it, and make sure that's clearly marked with a, yes, I know this is out of date, click, before you can see stuff. And maybe take it out of the Google search results at some point. At some point in the future, we think it might be worth saying, if you really are interested in 2.x, then you should log into Jive and see it, so that we don't confuse everybody who doesn't know much about Alfresco with these results surfaced directly on Google.
And those are some functionality that we have within the platform. The search functionality is good, so it does prioritize documents and topics that have been voted as helpful or viewed more often, or if they're just more relevant, more recent, they're going to come up higher in the search results. But we just were a little bit wary of getting rid of content that we'd created or that you guys have created that you may want. So how this will work for the... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, and Helen and Jeff both are saying, yes, there are people using old versions of Alfresco, and we need the old content to when we're help support those people. And definitely recognize that need. But at the same time, there are a lot of people who don't know anything about Alfresco, and when they type in something, they end up on a really old version of Alfresco. So we're trying to balance that. And so I think, and I'm not sure that this is the plan everybody's agreed to, but I think at some point in the future, making that stuff only available to people that log into the community might be a good way to say, hey, you know what you're doing. You've logged in, you've searched within the community, and you can find the old stuff. But people that are just going to Google don't get waylaid with something for 2.x. So, and
it's also going to be an exercise in terms of marking things up on which version this is relevant for, because it's some things that it ties in a bit with blogging and tutorials as well. And this is one of the conversations I've had with Helen from the Docs team, the user assistance team, where a lot of these things are a snapshot in time, and some of these things are 8+ years old, and you can very easily, I've certainly fallen into that trap myself, of spending a whole day researching, figuring out why this bug is happening, what's going on, and find an article, some old deep link in the wiki or small section of the wiki, and oh, this is exactly what I need, and spend the whole day figuring out why it doesn't work, and then by the end of the day I figure out this is relevant for 2.2 or whatever, and I'm on 4. Something or 5, and it's just not relevant anymore. So this is where again, we're not throwing things away. We're migrating over and keeping it along with us, but we need your help to clearly mark up in which version is these things relevant for, and just so it helps the search go much smoother, and people who need that stuff can actually find it much more efficient.
Yeah, Kristen, I looked, and what was it, Kristen? The first forums post was in February of 2005, and the wiki was like 2006.
Yeah,
so
and we have 10 years of blogs as well.
Yeah, it's great history. I mean, it's just a shame to throw away history, and and that's why we want to bring it in a Jive. I think the big question is how much of it gets exposed on Google. Douglas points out that the community can help clean up a lot of this stuff and mark what isn't relevant. But honestly, I gave you that challenge 3 years ago. Giorgio, he did quite a bit. Besides him, I think there were a couple dozen edits that reflected what was out of date. So it's just hard because we're talking thousands and thousands of pages.
So I guess what we could ask people to do, though, is when you stumble upon something, if you're in the search in the new platform and you stumble upon something that we have marked as outdated, but you find it helpful, that's built-in functionality on the platform. Say this is helpful, make a comment as to what bit is still relevant, and we can make those updates. And the platform lets us recognize and reward you for those contributions. So in the past, maybe we've asked people to do things, but there hasn't been a good way to track who's doing what, when, and where, whereas on this new platform we can really build out challenges to move people through a path of you have edited this many posts, you have contributed this many comments to our documents, things that let us know who our power folks are and who's interested in helping us keep all this information clean, and then we can recognize and reward them.
Yeah, and make sure everybody understands, the current plan is to migrate everything. So don't mean to panic anybody. We're talking about what do we do with older stuff, and when we're talking about what we call archive versus what we call current, with the wiki content, we're calling everything that's currently marked in the wiki as archived will continue to be marked that way. The forms, it doesn't sound like Jive makes it easy to mark what's archived, but we're thinking stuff older than 4.2. I mean, older than, I think 4.2 is what we decided. We would probably deprioritize in the searches, and that would be the stuff we might treat differently in the future. So we're experimenting. We don't claim that we have the answers yet, but we need to weigh that new developer experience against all you experts who care about the old stuff and figure out the right way to meet everybody's needs.
And there may be a smart way in tagging where people can pull up things that are relevant to their version. That's going to take some cleanup and some effort, but it seems like something that would be doable.
Yep. The other trade-offs that I think it's useful to get feedback on is one of the challenges we've had is when you go in, as we look at our information architecture, and it's kind of nice to talk to a group of information architecture experts in the Alfresco community. There's a certain set of decisions people are making, and so the first decision we're asking people to make is, do I have a question I need answered? Do I want to learn about Alfresco from a getting started perspective, or do I want to learn to contribute to Alfresco? Or am I building solutions to Alfresco? Those are kind of the buckets. And then once you've made that decision, you're brought in to say, am I an ECM person, or am I a BPM person, or am I building solutions with the developer framework that covers both? And those are the big chunks of things. And then once you've made that decision, then you're looking at Alfresco specific stuff, and you can see Community Edition is the major project, Alfresco 1 plus Community Edition, and secondary projects like records management and mobile apps and things like that. An activity, kind of same thing. You got the activity project, and the secondary projects would be the mobile and the developer framework projects. And so in each one of these areas is where we would have ideations, because currently people's 30% of respondents said they use these platforms to give us ideas, and we're not very good at dealing with those ideas. We don't have any scalable way to bring them in or to have you vote on them, or we want to eventually be able to do that in this platform. And then so we'd be able to do that for each of these chunks of ECM, BPM, or the solutions. So ideas, roadmaps, forms, Q&A, and release information, those would all be in these per product structure. And then we'd have an additional area that's global for, I'm looking for a job, or I'm looking for somebody to hire. I have something I'm excited to announce to everybody, an add-on or a meetup or something. And we have an additional one. As a team, we said, one of the values of the wiki is people can go in and do stuff, and we don't want to get in the way of that. So we're talking about having a scratch pad where people can go in and continue to create, hackathon projects or documentation that can feed into other things in the future. That's kind of the overall chunk of the architecture that we've been discussing. So I'd be interested to know if anybody has guidance on how to improve on that.
And if anybody does have some strong feelings, if we're going to look for some active users of the current spaces that we have to say, hey, here's what we're working on. Once we get things kind of mocked up with some actual content in the space, would you be interested in checking it out and let us know if we're going in the right direction? Does this flow naturally for you? Do you see anything that we're kind of missing? So we'll be reaching out back to the community. Our timeline on this is we would love to have this thing up and running, end of August, early September. A lot of things hinge on migration, but we hope to have it up really soon for you guys. I know that there's been a lot of pain points in some of the other platforms, and we appreciate your patience as we have sorted out this new undertaking. It's just a large undertaking, so we want to make sure we get it right when we go live. If you have participated in one of the spaces and have provided us an email address, then we're going to, once we have it up and running, we'll reach out to you. You'll get an email that says, hey, you have an account associated with this email address because of the content we moved over. And here's a temporary password. Go log in, activate your account, update your password and username information. If you haven't participated, or if you have participated in a way that never required an email address, we still want you to participate. So we'll be, tweeting about this, posting it on the forums, posting it on our website when it's live. So you'll have a way to gain access and be a member.
And that period, we've taken all the moderators in the existing community, in the existing forums, and the wiki moderators, and they'll get first dibs to come in and give us feedback because they're going to help us organize things. We were talking about how long that period should be when it's in a beta and only accessible to moderators. We think we need to keep it short, probably just a couple of weeks, and that's because having two systems, it just makes, we don't want people to be asking questions in the old forums and not getting answers because all the experienced people are in the new one. So we're going to be pretty aggressive about get the new ones live with all the content imported and then turn off the old one. But we do need to make sure things work before we can make those decisions. Anything else about timelines or the process we want people to be aware of, Kristen?
I think that's a good range on the timelines. Do we have any specific? I have one more question for folks. Do we have any specific questions about what we're working on in the feeds that we need to answer?
So I was going through the chat, the conversation, and people are all coming up with important reasons why they should get an Oculus from Alfresco. And Hell's pointing out that he would write an integration between Alfresco and the Oculus if he had one. Douglas says he can do important research on colorblindness that advances science if we were to put him at the top of the queue. Anyway, other conversations about Google Cardboard and other VR stuff. So it is interesting to see that we've touched a nerve and people are excited. That's always a good thing. Cool. There's a lot of conversation about how important it is to bring the old stuff. Don't go trashing anything. The community created this content, and we should respect that. And that we understand that. It's just we've got to pay to maintain it and keep it current and relevant and not a problem. So there's a trade-off there as well. Definitely, anybody that wants to download the entire wiki and the entire history forums, go for it. You're welcome to. I did confirm.
You don't have to do that.
Yeah, we are going to migrate it, but I did confirm as part of these conversations that there's a pretty decent snapshot on both in the Wayback Machine at the Internet Archive. So I did make sure that, as far as I could tell, they got all of it. I couldn't find anything they didn't get. But yes, we are migrating all of it. Sorry to panic people. Thanks for clarifying, Kristen.
Sure. So while I have...
Oh, go ahead.
I have one question, and while I have I feel like this is a good crowd to run this by. I've run this by Richard, and I've got, well, everybody on the call I've run it by, and I've gotten some strong opinions on it. So the one thing that's really kind of, not the one thing, a large thing that is holding back our going forward with some of these decisions is, what do we call this thing? Clearly, community is off the table because that's already a large part of your vocabulary. We have a community edition. A large group of us all sat down in Atlanta maybe like 2 months ago to flesh out what we wanted to do with the space, and part of that was brainstorming names for what we can call it. One of our top names that we have that was brought up was the source. Now, our thoughts around that are, this will be the source of truth. This will be the source of the information that you need about Alfresco. It will contain, all of our news, our documents, our announcements, like everything. It'll be the place to go to learn about Alfresco, the source of all the information out there. We also, our vision around Alfresco is that the purpose is to advance that flow of digital business. So Source has a nice play on flow as, the source of where things begin. However, Source is also a part of your day-to-day vocabulary. So we want to be able to say things about this site and have people understand that we mean the site, not the code. So I love feedback. If people want to type it in the chat, if people want to send a message, if people want to tweet me, whatever. I would just love some feedback from you if you think that if someone says, hey, we're launching the Source, or I say you should post that in the Source, or go check out this article in the Source. Do you know what I mean when I say that, or is it going to be confusing, as in same as with community, check the community, or ask the community? I mean the space. So I'd love to hear some feedback on that. You can do it in the chat now, or you can send me stuff.
Jeff and Morgan both say that it would be very confusing. Sujay suggests we do a poll and send the poll out via Twitter. And
then we're
definitely
scared we're going to get like community face. You know what I'm saying? Like there's crowdsourcing is a little bit scary.
Community face would be pretty awesome actually, but it'd be really long to type. I don't think you'd have to abbreviate it CFC, CMFC. Anyway. So
I may take it to the forums though and put up a post and say, I'd love your suggestions. I may not say let's all vote on them and go with it, but because we got to take it to some higher ups and get brand sign off and that kind of good stuff. But I would love if you guys have names, if you guys have some thoughts about what you would refer to your area. Essentially, I mean we're going to own it, but it's going to be yours to contribute and connect with each other and with us. So I'd love some opinions.
Yeah, I think creating a thread in the current forums to discuss this would be really useful. Jeff suggests calling it community like everyone does. We're nervous about that being, it just being confusing with Community Edition and everywhere else we use the word community, but it's definitely one we've considered. Hub is a pretty generic one that lots of other people have used. We've thought about that. I propose Meadow. I think it plays well with the flower, and it plays well with Order of the Bee and some of the bee analogy we use. Though my personal favorite, some people suggested the cafe, some people suggested the picnic or something. My personal favorite is to take the idea of the cafe and call it the bistro with a B-E-E, like the bistro. You get together the bees to talk.
We got your pun.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought it was brilliant. So we got to at least call a thread or a conversation. We got to use that pun somewhere. We got to. Here's a good one. I don't know who Swissigi is. I don't know what your real name is. Sorry, but this person suggests Alfresco Central. So central.alfresco.com. I think that's a pretty good one.
We definitely need feedback on it and some input, but I'm also scared, like, we don't want to do another Bodie McBoatface. So again, we need to have this approved all the way up on the name. So again, don't be disappointed if we do ask for your suggestions, but if we ultimately choose to go another direction, don't be disappointed. Just upfronting it that we could go a different direction.
So it sounds like Bistro it got voted down, but Jeff says resist the urge to name everything. Don't go all marketing on us, and there's some value to that can be good, guys.
We just have to refer to it in some manner. We have to call it something. So we need an. I mean, we're not going to do a ton of. It's not going to have its own logo and whatnot, but I have to call it something other than the community. I have to refer to it in some way, and of course that bodes you to be somewhat clever. Just nature, yeah. So I will put something in the forums to get some feedback.
Yes, excellent. I think Central should be added to the survey. That's a decent. I don't know why we didn't come up with that earlier. So we've been bouncing this around for. We've been working on this project since when was BCon, in May or April? I don't even remember. Time just goes like that. But we've been bouncing around ever since then and just going around and around on names. So we're very interested to hear somebody outside of our group suggesting things. So that's the topics we had for today, and definitely if people have questions on any topic related to Alfresco, related to the way we work with with our open source community, related to our marketing team and the work that Anthony does as a product marketer, or Helen and Kristen does working with our different digital properties and digital tools, feel free to ask. Is there anything else that you wanted to?
I completely lost track of because we've talked about so many things. Did we talk about blogging yet?
No, we did not.
So one of the things, just want to preface it, is that yes, we're going to have some blogging, and Kristen, you can add some color to what we're doing there. But the main thing is we want to make sure that we work internally and get a good content schedule up and running. So we get regular blogs on areas, and you guys can suggest things that we can. You want us to blog about, and we're going to have, once all of this is coming up, it's going to be really easy for us to identify, oh, so in the last month we've had 10, 15 questions surrounding this particular area. Maybe that's when we need to go in and have someone from Alfresco write up a blog post that explains this in more detail. Maybe it's something that makes it into docs, but that's definitely something we want to gain the benefit from this platform. And Kristen, can you add a bit more color of what we're doing with blogs?
Exactly. So the platform will give us the ability to track trends about what people are talking about and what spaces are seeing a ton of activity, and then we can create content around those questions that we're seeing. We are migrating in the WordPress blogs that we host, and that will be, the dev blog, the DevOps blog, the staff blogs are all going to be migrated in. At least the staff blogs that we host on WordPress. A lot of our staffers have their own blogs, and we'll pull those in an RSS feed within the space, but we won't be moving that actual content to be hosted there. But what that means is as a member of the community, you'll have an easier access to follow either categories that interest you, and that can be blogs, docs, discussions, or specific people. So if there's an author that generally creates content that resonates with you, you can follow them and get notified anytime they post something new or connect with them directly. Or you can follow an area of interest. Say we're going to have our developer blog, and you can get all the content that goes in there. We're also going to have a place within the community for you to provide feedback around anything in there. So if you say, I'm having trouble finding things, or I'm looking for things in this area, we'll take that feedback for, these are some areas we need to create some things. And we as a company are going to have a shared content calendar so we know who's working on what, and we can kind of complement each other and make sure that we're covering everything in the blog section.
And as you were discussing that, I realized one of the areas we're having a hard time migrating is the personal messages in the forums. And I went through to check, and some people do seem to use some, but most people don't. The vast majority of people don't seem to use personal messages in the forums. So if you really care about your personal messages, please let me know. That'd be really useful to understand. So we have been working on it, but I just don't know how. We're trying. We've only got a couple minutes left. Anything else we wanted to cover?
In regards to personal messages, you will have the availability of private messaging. Any members that are in the community space. He's talking about, like, if you have messages in the forum section, those may not come over. Yeah. We're working on that. But if you're things that you reference in your private message, you may need to get that information, and we'll obviously give you a heads up on that.
Yeah, excellent point. Thanks for clarifying that.
So while we have just a minute or two left, could you just tell us a bit about what happens? So say we go live late August, and we have this nice new platform all up and running. We've migrated all the content. What happens for me as a user of the Alfresco forums today? What do I need to do?
You're going to be invited. Like, if we have your email from an account in the forums or a contribution to the wiki, or so I think when you made comments on blogs, you don't have to provide an email, but if you did, any of those email addresses, you are going to have an account within this space already because you have content associated with it. So you'll get an email that says, hey, here's your username, here's your password, like Alfresco123 or whatever. Go, log in, change your password, update your username, update your profile, and that will give you your space with all of your stuff already linked to it. And then you can just continue to contribute in that space.
And we're looking at moving, we want the links from the old forums to point to the new community, so we don't lose all that search engine love. So we're working on that process. So if somebody were to go to the old forms, they should end up in the new place quite cleanly and be able to create an account, or hopefully they'd have their old account through the email invite. So if somebody does, we do, is the note, we probably should put a note on that new community that if people need their personal messages or something out of the old system, we can go look that up and get that to them if we don't get it migrated. Sujay does not sound concerned about personal messages as long as we don't lose his points. Are points being migrated?
So I'm not sure points will be migrated, but points will be, I will have that information and can do something in the new space with that. I don't know if it'll be a straight migration because Jive just has a different way of pointing things. You know what I mean. So I will have that information, so all of your contributions and things that you have earned in the old platform I will have. I just may have to do some manual work to put that information in there and kind of figure out how we're going to display it. But you will not start from scratch.
So we're migrating them. It's just that it's a different model between the old forms and the new Jive. So you will get status of being one of the old timers who's very helpful, and because I know Axel would be really annoyed if he didn't, if his credit for the hours and hours of help he's given, and Sujay and Jeff and all these people, Mark, and so we definitely appreciate that. We want to make sure that you show up as senior people in the new form. So it will be migrated in that sense, even if it's not a technical one-to-one carryover.
There's also a ton of things we do with badges and points and gamification that we're all just figuring out now, because we have like a ton of features in Jive, and we need to figure out what we want to do with it. So definitely expect an update on that. And yeah.
And people, I got two separate people saying, did you give a date? And yeah, Kristen mentioned that we're shooting for end of August for the initial look. Probably the moderators will get access end of August, early September, depending on how the migration goes and summer holidays and things. One of our engineers is having a baby, and when he gets, we got to work around some things. So end of August, early September, and then we expect that moderator-only stage to be a couple of weeks or a few weeks. We don't have that exactly nailed down, but it's not going to be long, and then we'll be the formal cutover. With that, any last comments?
Not that. So I just want one closing thing is that I'm hoping we can do office hours more often now. I know we've been bad at doing it, but maybe we need to revert to the old thinking of just two guys hanging out in the hangout and talking about whatever. Maybe that's a way to go forward. If you have ideas on what you'd like to see in office hours, let us know. And other than that, I haven't asked any of you guys on the panel yet, but I'm hoping that we can do another session once we get closer to the release of the community platform, so we can actually show what this thing look like and talk about more detail about what it is.
I would love to jump in and maybe host some sort of. It's a pretty intuitive platform, so I don't feel like training is the right word. But once we have content and the space designed, I'd love to come in and host something that says, here it is, here's how you join, here's how you navigate, here's where things live, because it is different. But at least to show you, hey, this is how you get to docs, this is how you get to blogs, this is how you post a question, this is how you update your profile picture, all that stuff. I'd love to do a session about that.
Yeah, we can definitely arrange that. When we move to the more formal format for office hours, bring in more of the team, and they were all really nervous, and so we try to get questions in advance so they could think about things. It just ended up taking a lot of work. But the more informal conversation like we had today, we can definitely do that more regularly. So we'll try and get a mix of that. Simon says thank you for the Simon says thank you for the Oculus. Angel says, please, no gamification at all. Gamification is such a markety word, but we definitely don't want it to feel too icky. But the idea of points, like we had in the old forms, recognition for the things you do, that might technically be gamification, but we'll try and not make it too annoying and just.
So some of it. Yeah, and some of it will be, if you're into that stuff, if you're into racking up points for answering questions, cool. If you're not, we still want a way that people can look at your profile and say, this person contributes at this level, they provide this caliber of answer. They are somebody who knows their stuff, and it's worthwhile to read the content that they create. whether or not
Absolutely.
you're interested in the badges that are associated with you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to say it. Is maybe we should call it reputation building instead of gamification. It doesn't sound so bad. So,
The last thing we want to do with gamification is to discourage people and say, oh, you can only do this once, or you need to log in every day, or whatever. That's not what we're talking about at all. It is mostly about reputation building and making sure that we can pat you on the shoulder and say, you've done a great work. Here's a badge or whatever, and you can show off in the profiles. We know a lot of the people in the community have been asking about this, and we want to recognize you for the hard work you're doing.
Absolutely. Marcus says we need a virtual reality app for the Jive community. We'll definitely put that on the backlog. We'll see how soon it bubbles to the top. And Jeff says, Kristen, it's a good idea to give that training, give that introduction to the community. That would be a good thing to put on the YouTube channel. And I do agree, that would be a good thing to put on the YouTube channel.
I'll probably make some set videos as well that you guys I don't know if they'll live in the YouTube channel. Jive gives us the ability to have like a little community help section, so you could go to the space and do a little walkthrough of what you need there. But we can also populate it if we need to. Yeah, I'm just going to drive everybody to Jive basically. But I will have things for you to know how to navigate the space if you can't attend any kind of session.
Excellent. And with that, it seems like every conversation among friends goes late, so that's a good sign, right? So we need to end now. If you have any questions, email community@alfresco.com. We do read those. They end up in my inbox and, well, in my community folder. I try to get through those regularly, and Oli and Kristen, I think we're all on that. Anthony and Helen are too busy going through developer surveys to read those community emails, but we appreciate all of the conversation. I'll see you on IRC, and we look forward to seeing everybody in the new community forums, answering questions and helping out. And of course, when you get the email about the next developer survey, we hope you take the time to fill it out and participate in the Oculus giveaway. But more importantly, give us information we need to make decisions that will benefit you as we spend our time for the remainder of the year and into next year. So with that, wish everybody best wishes, and I'll see you on Tech Talk Live in early August, either the first or second Wednesday, depending on how it works for the presenter. So take care.
Happy Friday. Have a good weekend, everybody.